we could decide to knock out almost about all the genes if we know that those genes are not going to have issues. And so there's what we call multiplexing in CRISPR, whereby you can use CRISPR to knock out as many as even up to 8 genes at the same time. So you can multiplex by designing your CRISPR machinery to knock out the genes individually at the same time. Or another thing we do is we try to have a common ground. You pick all genes that are controlling that particular character. If you have studied them very well, you know that they are not going to have any potential effect after knocking them out. You align them and look for a conserved region where we are going to place your guide, so that you can use one guide or one stone to kill several at the same time. That's what we do. But then it is a bit tricky, because it is a bit tricky knocking out a couple of those genes. Some of them could have that effect on the morphology, and that's what we don't want. We want whatever we knock out should come, the final product should not have any morphological defects. Yeah, so we try as much as possible to actually identify a particular gene, only one or two at most, that we can knock out, because we don't want it. Then again, there are also a situation whereby a gene has a family of genes, whereby you have gene A, then there is another one B, another one C, just in that same family, controlling like the sweet genes, sweet 14 genes, and the MLO. It is a family of genes. So there was a situation whereby we knocked one of them from banana, we did not see the result. It means it's either we knock all of them, or there's a particular one that once you hit it, you are going to get the result. So that is one of the things we do before we even go to knocking out a gene. So I don't know if I've answered your question. Okay.
Thank you, Professor, for that very wonderful presentation. My name is Professor Joseph Azi from Industrial Design. This is the first time I'm hearing the word design being used somewhere else. Just the form of design that I've been familiar with. Yeah, but I'm also into creating culturally sensitive contents for children on TV using animation. The idea is that I'm arguing that, and most of us are arguing same, that although American-based animations and cartoons educate these children and entertain them, but the culture being relayed in these contents are not compatible to our culture. So we're trying to look at a way of bringing a Nigerianized content that will be akin to our culture. I don't want to go deep into that. I just wanted to set the background to my question. Now, you took a lot of time explaining. I cannot say what you said because I'm not in the sciences, laboratory sciences. I don't want to bite my tongue. But we did not hear the impact of these products and the receptibility in the human body. I thought I should have also known, will it key into my system? Because my system has been designed already, and I'm seeing a banana that has been tempered with in all these forms that you said. I cannot mention them. But what is the receptibility or compatibility of this product to the human system? Thank you. Yeah. I hope I'm not out of place.
No,
anyway.
No, you are very
Thank you.
right. Very correct. Yeah, you see, if you take maize, for example, okay, you see there are different types, yellow, red, everything, green, even, I don't know. That was designed by nature, right? Okay. In gene editing, we are mimicking nature, but then we are mimicking nature in the laboratory, because nature takes very long to come up with an outcome, but we want to hasten it in the laboratory. Now, before you see something being release and approve. FDA in the US has done a lot of research before you see them even accepting for these things to be released and for humans to. So far, to the best of my knowledge, so far, it's just history, a hearsay, and people don't even do their research. It has not even been proven, even with the GM. Even with the GM, whatever you hear, you read, it's just people sit somewhere and then come up with those things. It has not actually been proven that if you eat GM, it is going to do. First of all, they are going to be digested, right? That it is going to get integrated into your system. No, it will not integrate because integrate into the system. It needs something, a plasmid that will make it integrate into your system. People were saying COVID vaccine will integrate into the system, but it did not integrate into the system because it was what? Messenger RNA. RNA does not integrate into the system. It's DNA that integrates, right? Yeah. So, so far, to the best of my knowledge, there has not been any proven record that these things get integrated into the system and change the structure of human beings. No. I've eaten GM, and to be honest with you people, all of you have eaten GM. That's the truth, whether you like it or not. I'm just telling you the truth. To be honest with you, you have eaten GM. And I don't know whether you have changed since the time you ate GM. Now, people say it causes cancer. Let me come. Now, Europe does not eat GM. Okay? America eats GM. But I don't know whether from the time they started eating GM, if you compare the percentage of people with cancer in Europe and America, whether there is any rise, there is none. Okay? So these things people just say. To be honest with you, people just say. You're eating sweet potato, you have eaten GM, natural GM. There are a lot of products that are there. If you are going to the US, possibly you have eaten GM product. I've eaten GM. I have 2 kids, boys. From the time I started producing, when I went to Japan, I started work on this. Till date, I don't know whether I've changed. A man can testify whether I'm still the same. So please, it's just fear that people do, and with no substantial evidence or laboratory. So we have to give credit to our institutions. National Biosafety Management Agency has a laboratory that tests a lot of things. Just like when you come up with a vaccine or medicine, NAFDAC has to do a lot before they release. And that's the same thing. Even when this thing is coming from abroad, and I think here, people just feel that this thing is done in the US and they push to us. I am not from US. I am in Nigeria. The plants I've shown here are all plants grown in Africa. If I had time to give a presentation of the crops I work on, were all Nigerian-based crops. So I don't think I want to do something to kill myself, kill people, and kill my entire family. I don't think that is the case. So it's just the concern people have. But that concern, nobody has proven. If somebody has any information that is scientific proven, that is what happens, you should bring it out. We will see. That's the thing. So don't get yourself worked up over nothing, okay? I do not want, there's no time for us to have gone to that level, but we have National Biosafety Management Agency, we have NAFDA, we have NAFDAC, all this. There was a time, at times some people come and talk things that they actually have no clue. That's the thing. But for us that have clue, we know what we are doing. I'm not saying this because it is my field, but I'm saying that because I know the in-depth analysis of how these things are produced. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof, for your very enlightening presentation. Mine is not a question per se. I think it's just a rejoinder to what you just said. Okay. I was discussing with Professor Nasir, and I said this is where the arts and humanities, the missing link I was talking about earlier. This is a cultural thing. To the best of your knowledge, you do not know, and I agree with you simply because there's been paucity of research in that area. This is a communications cultural aspects that our colleagues in the arts and humanities should leverage upon. And those of us in the sciences will also do well to enlighten those of us in the arts the implications of these things. So for me, it's another gap, research gap that is actually very wide. Yes, very wide, very good opportunity for us to leverage into. It's a cultural thing, I agree.
Yeah.
If I know that this is modified consciously, I wouldn't take it. But the truth is, even today, most of us have taken these things and we do not even know about it. So it's an opportunity that we hope we'll leverage on in the future. Thank you.
Yeah. So because of that, there are a couple of organizations that are actually, when GM started, there was that gap in communication. And that's why some people have not, please, whenever they advertise for workshop, try and attend Alliance for Science meetings. You will see here. So there are a lot of people that are working on communication to make sure that gene editing should not suffer the same thing that genetic modification suffered. So we have ISA, we have Alliance for Science, and a couple of organizations. So, Prof, you are right, that is actually the main issue. If that communication is there, we will not suffer. And again, like in the US, of course, they also label things. But to be honest with you, if a farmer sees his neighbor's crop producing very well and his own is suffering, he will collect those seeds and plant. He will not label for you. That's the thing. So we keep eating these things without knowing. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Just a moment, sir. I think to add to what Prof said.
Yes.
Here in EBU, the Institute for Agricultural Research (IAR) is one of the research institute mandated with, this kind of researches on GMOs. And last week, I attended a workshop on some of the misconceptions about GMOs and how media personnel can come in to address these issues. And even within the institute, some of the staff had a second thought about the originality of GMOs and what have you. But eventually, with persuasive communication and then with coming up with convincing findings based on what some of the researchers have done in the lab, I think gradually the narrative is beginning to change.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, what you are saying is true because we're in Nairobi when we had a workshop that was organized by their National Biosafety Agency, just like we have National Biosafety Management Agency, even some scientists. And the funny thing is that it is even with the scientists. They are also helping the non-scientists to propagate these faults. Because I don't know whether because they are so lazy to do the real test, because it doesn't cost you anything if you say this thing is actually having, we have good labs all over Africa and all over. Why not just go get it and do your test and come up with this, oh, this is what I've seen, but they don't do. So when we had that meeting and there was a lot of, GM, and even the scientists, if they ask them, if they bring GM here, will you eat if you don't eat? Some people said, no, I will not eat. You are a scientist. You don't want to eat. You see, so that's the thing. But now I think there's a lot of enlightenment and communication, and we shall keep pushing for it. But what we were trying to do, nobody wants to do something that is going to kill anybody. What we are trying to do is, can we do something that life will be a bit better? But that's the final thing. Will life be better for us? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Prof. Sorry, because of time, we would not be able to take all the questions identified. Around the applause for him as he takes his seat. Our second lecture will be presented by Professor Sani Ibrahim of the Department of Biochemistry at Bello University, Zaria, and the lecture will be on entrepreneurship in academics. Round of applause for him as he comes to the podium for his presentation, please.
All protocol duly observed. I'm also going to talk on another controversial issue, just like the GMO is. But before I even start, let me add just one comment about GMO. The worst disease is hunger. So there is no disease that is worse than hunger. And these GMOs are also assisting in solving the problem of hunger. Forget about both, because there are two types of hungers. The obvious one that we know, and there is what is called hidden hunger, which is deficiency of some essential elements and other things in our food. And that one is a slow killer, and it's a slow destroyer. And it also affects children in both their motor and cognitive sense. And at the end of the day, their productivity is affected. These GMOs are part of the easier way of introducing a lot of solving some of these problems. Like, for example, the vaccine, for example. People are worried so much about vaccine, but the next generation of vaccines will probably be induced in banana. So a child eats banana and get vaccinated, a double benefit. So please, let us be open-minded. Like he said, some of the people opposing some of these things are scientists. You see, before I even make my presentation, this is really what I'm going to hammer on, is that people are not afraid of change, but they're afraid of being changed. And that is the crux of what I'm trying to talk about here. Entrepreneurship in academic setting. The moment you mention entrepreneurship, it's like an F word, because people think that most entrepreneurs are unscrupulous, and that academic setting is a setting where truth is discussed, discussed, taught, and what have you. My job here is to tell you this is not necessarily the case. If we want to change our lot, we have to adopt this. If we want to change the lot of our educational institutions, we have to adopt this. And if we compare ourselves as paupers compared to our colleagues elsewhere, in Japan, in the US, in Europe generally, where's Balogun? Balogun worked with my PhD supervisor. The guy has a yacht. Yes, he was my PhD supervisor, and he's still a very good scientist. Right? When I was in US also, working with Gallo, every year we have what he calls swimming pool party. At the end of the year, December is around the year, we do this. If you see the resources that guy is controlling, actually is earning better than the president of the university, the vice chancellor. Why? Because of academic entrepreneurship. And so therefore, and also, if you go to many, many places, you realize that their object, like MIT, for example, will tell you, we want our students to be millionaires before they graduate. Do we have this thinking? No. All right? It's book, book, and book, and book. So I am starting from there. It's a preamble, so that I state you on some of the things that I'm going to talk about. All right? Next slide. How do I change the slide here? Oh, okay. Right? The core business of university remains teaching, research, and community service. But there is additional one, which is called community engagement. We are all very comfortable with the concept of triple helix, where universities or academia, if you like, businesses and government put together to push forward development. There is what is called now quadruple helix, which includes community engagement. So we must imbibe that the fact that we are in a community, what do we add to that community? It's a very big challenge. We have to add that to our mission. The next is a question: what is the characteristic of a good university? I'm sure all of you have an idea of what you think is a good university. I made a presentation in PG School, one of the PG School seminars, about what is a good university. And by the time I finished, I left everybody to think, is ABU a good university? All right? Because there are many issues that are considered before you can say a university is a good university. All right? Most of us tend to think about the quality of teaching, and some of us think more, in addition to that, the quality of research, which are all okay. But most of the time, we don't even think about the environment. Is it conducive for learning? Is it conducive for teaching? Certainly, if you think, is ABU conducive for teaching? Right? So these are some of the issues that we, so keep that in mind too. Again, academic entrepreneurship should be part of the side mission of universities to impact on the industry around us and the society, because that's what we mean by community engagement. Academic entrepreneurship must impact on some of these things. And in academic entrepreneurship, we use scientific research, creativity, and innovation to create economic value. There is this issue about art, science, the dichotomy, and things like that. No, in entrepreneurship, everybody have a stake. My last slide that I'm going to show is to show you how this academic entrepreneurship is a broad church with all denominations represented. All right? So again, it involves the students, the faculty or the staff, if you like, researchers, and it can include formal and informal activities. Again, the problem of propriety in our setting, especially in African setting, where we always think that the wisdom is attached to the elders, which is not true. Because we have a lot of old men in Nigeria that are stupid, that are messing us up. So, so it is, this African concept must change. What we need is people who will make difference to our life. And because of that, we, the lecturers, always think that whatever is produced in our lab is our own property. The propriety should be with us, not with the students. When in reality, it's the students that are doing some of the work. Of course, we help with the thinking, we help with concept, we guide, we do things, but the actual work on the table, the people that get their hands dirty are the postgraduate students. So therefore, they must be included in this kind of entrepreneurship. Of course, the formal activities, patenting, development spin-off, which we do not have. And later I will tell you, patent alone does not solve your problem, because patenting is not commercialization. So if you want to benefit from intellectual property right, you have to go beyond that. You have to commercialize. In fact, in a very good setting where laws work, patenting is inimical, because you have to pay for the license. And if it's not generating any income, it generates negative income to the institution. So we have to think well beyond that. The spin-off, of course, we don't have that. Informal activities, consulting, joint research with the industrial partners. Here again, we have a problem. We don't reach out to our industries to ask for their problems, so we help them solve their problems, and in the distant make a few bucks. I can assure you, Chevron, ExxonMobil is more likely to employ a Nigerian to solve their problem than NNPC. Why? Because NNPC think that they don't want you to know even what they are doing. Yes. So if they invite you there, you will know what they are doing, and you are likely to this and that, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the industries are reluctant to reach up to us. We are reluctant to reach up to them, and in the end, we all lose. So writing books and things like that. And this is, like I said, where the arts is. The next slide, please. Okay. Commercialization of research produced by universities constitute a core facet of academic entrepreneurship, a process based on academic research, expertise, and knowledge, right? You generate innovative ventures, products, and services. These two things we have to be aware of. It's not always that you produce a product in commercializing your research. There are times when what you provide are services. And if these services can make difference to the livelihood of our society, so be it. Right? So each and of these, you have to listen. Usually, academic entrepreneurship is framed by economic social mission of an institution and its contribution to social, economic, and cultural development of its environment through the transfer of knowledge. So you can see what is, for example, the social and economic this of our university. Have we ever asked ourselves about that? Right? It's always good. I'm sure my sister who was living there was talking about the disconnect and things like that. Well, I'm fine. Why do we become academics? We want to make difference to our society. Right? We want to jack up the social, the level of an economic level of our people. Are we doing that? Yes, to some extent we are, but in our own way, right? But what we are saying is that in doing this, you also elevate your level to a bit higher level economically so that you are more comfortable. Management is an integral, perhaps in some cases, determining factor in academic entrepreneurship. The management of the university itself is critical. If you have rigid management that always think of university as an ivory tower, you will never make difference to the society. Yes, we may be an ivory tower, but from time to time, let's come down from the tower, come to the level of our society and make difference. That is the message. The universities, like companies, of course. Here in Nigeria, we have three fundamental problems. If you look at economic development of a nation, we will pass from the level of superstition to knowledge-based economy, to production-based economy, which we are struggling even to achieve. But we are not yet knowledge-based economy. Because these days, values are generated from even the knowledge itself. AI, if you look, for example, the money you make out of AI, in fact, even the Bitcoins and the rest, these are people that are making money out of knowledge. We are not yet a knowledge society. And the reason why some of our leaders, I wouldn't say they are ignoramus, but they are not knowledgeable. And they don't know the value of knowledge. And not even our leaders, even we ourselves. If you have come tomorrow, you have a wedding, the relation that you respect best is the one that makes the best contribution, the most contribution financially to you. All right? Not somebody who comes and probably tell you how to run the marriage itself successfully, which is the ultimate goal when you are having this. How will it last and things like that? You don't value them. But the man or the person who brought most money, the biggest, this is one that you always this, and is one that is likely to be on the high table, right? So if you want to practicalize, capitalize results, basic research such as collaborative research. Do we do any collaborative research with the industry? No. Contract research. This is something that is also lacking in Nigeria. We are having problem with our securities. All right? But have you heard of any of the generals collecting some eggheads from university, sitting together and look at the best way to approach this security issue? No. Everybody is an expert. Everybody is a sociologist. Everybody is this and that. Even people who have no idea of why you are where we are will become pundits, and they will start telling you all kinds of things. Some make sense, some don't. In fact, a lot of them don't. Because we don't respect knowledge. We don't respect specialization. Right? Everybody wants to become a mechanic. Right? And so on and so forth. So, but elsewhere, there are times when an industry may give a contract research to a university, and the spin-off from that research, the company will be happy, the university will be happy, and the people doing the work will also be happy, and so on and so forth. Networking with practitioners. Networking is what we are extremely poor at. Faculty of Social Science is not even aware of what Faculty of Arts is doing. Gone are the days when they were together and when things were good. So there is no networking. Biochemistry does not know what microbiology is doing. Biochemistry and microbiology do not know what biological sciences are doing, let alone what Faculty of Agriculture is doing and things like that, or Faculty of Medicine is doing. So, well, the Dean of PG School is saying even within the department there is no networking, which is true, right? There are times when somebody from your department will be addressing an issue and you are hearing it for the first time somewhere else. Yeah. And why? Because simple thing as successful, efficient, and good coffee room is not even available in some departments, where people discuss over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee some of the things, the challenges they are having in their labs. And a simple suggestion from a colleague near the water cooler will solve you hours and days of thinking and hard work. We don't do that. So, of course, is there any spin-off in ABU? No. Is there any startup in ABU? No. But go to the best universities in the world. Go to MIT, for example. Go to Oxford, in the example. Go to Cambridge, and this. They have some of these things. For example, about last year in Oxford alone, this spin-off and startups generated well over 36 million pounds sterling. And you know that 1/3 of it went back to Oxford. So you can imagine this kind of money the university is making and this thing. So, well, anyway, let's continue. Who is an academic entrepreneur? Is someone with niche of expertise, a strong desire to use the expertise to make difference to the world. Your world starts from the immediate environment to the rest of this. That is what academic entrepreneur is. This allows the person to have much wider influence than they were able to achieve within the university setting alone. If you are making difference within the university setting, it is an ivory tower, but in terms of the size, when you compare to the rest of the society, look at ABU, for example, even compared to Samaru. What is ABU compared to Samaru? Compared to Zaria, compared to Kaduna State, compared to Nigeria, West African sub-region, or Africa. So if you want to make difference, you have to go out, reach out, and to make difference. There are a lot of challenges, and sometimes you may have completed goals, and you may have very weak incentives. This is always the case in Nigeria. It's only in Nigeria that you get a proposal, you submit the proposal, the guy that holds the green biro or the red biro will cut that proposal so much so that when it is taken back to you, you know that you cannot achieve anything with it. Why do they do that? They will tell you they want to save cost. The strange thing is that you are saving cost to the extent that you are even killing the process of generating the income. So we have to be very careful. Here in the front page, my very good friend here, when you are the Deputy Vice Chancellor, you have to be very careful when you are cutting cost when people bring proposals to you. Don't cut it to the extent that you paralyze the exercise. Because if the exercise is paralyzed, you are wasting even resources because you are still giving money. But that money is not enough to generate anything, to produce anything. So instead, be more careful, be more in contact with the people that are making the proposal, such that if you are making the cutting the cost is such that you can still achieve what you want to achieve. Of course, we on the other hand also must also not do what an average Nigerian housewife will do. If the cost is X, what you'll be told is X plus Y. So that by the time you finish your cutting, you end up with X. All right? So all of us need to communicate. There is something that we have to be aware. There is democratization of knowledge now. With your handset, with your computers and things like that, quite a number of things that in the past you need to go through volumes of books, you can easily have access to them. So democratization of knowledge is making it such that we must also reach out to the wider society and make difference to the society. Because it is a good thing. Next. Why is it necessary to have academic entrepreneurship? In general, it stimulates economic growth and job creation. That is the bottom line. I told you that our country is not yet a knowledge-based society. Even the production is hampered. We are busy closing our factories and other things simply because they are no longer viable. Simply because there are key fundamental issues that is required in production, like energy resources. The energy source is critical to production. You mess it up, you mess the production process. Last week, we had a notice that ABU has been cut off from the national grid. Do you know the kind of damage that did to ABU? No. The entire country, anyway, was one time we spent about how many days without power? 1 week. 1 month. So, what happens economically? So, and unfortunately, Nigeria refused to face the issue of energy. Instead, what the politicians and the military were doing was to use the issue of energy power source to steal a lot of money. Because if the money that was meant for energy has been invested there, by now we would have been okay. If, for example, we are thinking rightly and correctly, we would have gone to nuclear energy. That would have solved a lot of our problems. But then I'm scared when you mention nuclear energy, because nuclear energy is more dangerous than GMO. Because if you have a nuclear reactor that you mess it up, or you cut costs, or you steal the money meant for maintenance, the consequences is going to be a very big disaster. So that is why I'm really thinking about this. So another thing is you also need to change, or you shift the paradigm with respect to academic information dissemination. It's not only in classroom that you disseminate information or knowledge, you also have to consider the wider society. Again, you need to overcome asymmetric poor quality information dissemination from social media. My colleague that just made the presentation was telling you how the social media took over the GMO issue and making the wrong this. And you know about the anti-vaccine people who are saying everything about this, including some of our academics. And unfortunately, including some pharmacists and even medical practitioners. There was a forum where somebody told me about how these things were used to this. The first question I asked the person, what is the half-life of these steroids? First, what is the concentration of the steroid in the vaccine? It's negligible. What is the half-life of those steroids in human body? No answer. Because you give it to a child, by the time the child comes, will there be anything that will make the child steroid? So you are a scientist. So make scientific arguments. They all kept quiet. And then somebody said, why didn't you go to radio and make this kind of statement? I said, the problem is that if I go there and talk, the first assumption is that I am a lackey of some Western power or some companies. And they will insult the hell out of me. And not even me, my family, everybody will be insulted because of that. So, and this because we are not yet a knowledge society. We don't value knowledge. All right? So, we must, as academics, address the misinformation coming from the social media by giving authentic knowledge, research-based information to our society. Do we do that? We don't. And we can make money in the process. Because this is one way that academic entrepreneurship can help. You create new outlets, experts, and so on and so forth. And then we also create new opportunities for academics in an uncertain higher education environment. The government is busy cutting our, this is whatever money they give us, they're busy cutting it. Even the salary increase they made to you has not been implemented, and if it is implemented, it will be followed by a tax law that will wipe out whatever difference that increment made. Because one problem with especially PE is that it's incremental. They add more money to you, you move to the next tax bracket. All right? So in the end, you end up not making anything financially. And whatever is given to you, the resources given to university, they keep cutting. So therefore, universities must think of ways to generate income to sustain themselves. We must also think of ways to generate income to sustain ourselves. All right? Because I'm sure if that is not done, you'll have problem. We say in Nigerian current political setting, with increasing scarcity of funding for research and the university budget cuts. Yeah. So again, the challenge of our academic output is that once they have been developed, they often fail to translate their values and practical applicability to the end user. Please, don't let us stop at proof of concept alone. Let's move further than proof of concept and get products and services that can be useful. Especially in our society, what we privilege output that can be easily measured, such as direct commercial products like patents and more tangible output. I told you, patent is not a tangible output, but you need to generate a more tangible output. We also have to tap into human condition. What is the human condition in Nigeria? It's miserable. Yes. If it is miserable, how do you make it better? And how, in the process of making it better, can we also make some money? These are the issues. All right? Again, entrepreneurial mindset forces you to look at your end users' pain and gain, and best way to use the solution to solve the problem. Our job as a university, like I said, is community engagement. There are pains, there are so many other things that are available in our society. Let's look at it differently. How can we make difference? And in the process, we make a few bucks. This is the Of course, as academics, we also look for perfection. We take our ideas to the market. You see, there's a difference between an entrepreneur and an academic. We have to perfect things before we even present it, even in our so-called peer review publications. Most people that are very careful, they end up not even publishing, thinking that what they publish is going to be criticized. But are we God? If we are not, then let's get what we can, and then we move on. The critique to whatever errors that we are listening is going to push knowledge forward. So, but an entrepreneur is not interested in that. An entrepreneur first think of, yeah, that's right, how do you make money? If it fails, modify it. And then eventually they end up with package. But we want to start from the opposite side. And that is one of the reasons why we have lots of problems in commercializing our inventions. Of course, we have to be very careful. We don't rush into saying things. We don't rush into lying. We don't rush into misleading the society. As long as we are careful, let us, as much as possible, move forward. Entrepreneurs, because their livelihood depends on whatever they have, they move quickly to the market. Academics, especially places like ABU, we have layers and layers of bureaucracy. I'm not denigrating ABU, but I'm telling the ABU, especially the big guys here, the dean, the former DVC, there are certain layers of bureaucracy that are making things very difficult. For example, Dean PG School, I'm not attacking the person, but I'm attacking the university. The departments are the ones that generate the postgraduate students. They are the ones that train the postgraduate students. But the money generated from PG School never come to department or faculty. So how do you want the department to continue generating the students and generating the money? So these are the kind of entrepreneurial mindset that layers of bureaucracy must think of. There was a time, twice I was invited into committee to look at PG School with respect to this. And time and again, I keep reminding them that the minimum you need to give the departments, faculties is 10% of whatever you generate. If you do that continuously, over time, department will see this. Because this PG student that they are bringing to you, all the paperwork, you use the undergraduate money to do the paperwork and bring to you. And you're not giving anything. So, you have to be very careful with that bureaucracy. You also, entrepreneurs always embrace failures. I will tell you in my next, this is academics don't like failures. Yes, they are always afraid of failing. Yes, and the greater the risk, the higher the profit. Even if you get into business, we tend to make businessmen and women who are businessmen because we want to make sure the equation is balanced. You have so many safeties, so many this and things like that. At the end of the day, either you don't do anything, you die with your ideas, all right? But at some point, you have to tell yourself that I have to take this risk. Yes. What is wrong with failure? In fact, if I ask you what is experience, I always use the definition of Albert Einstein, who said that experience is just the chain of the failures you have in life, that you don't want to make them again. That's what experience is all about. So if you don't fail, how will you know? You can't. There is also we are also very careful, especially natural scientists. We don't publish our failures. Yeah, and if we don't publish our failures, we are going to this, because we must also publish our failures, because by publishing our failures, we are preventing others from repeating the same mistake. And by that, we are pushing knowledge forward so that people can now do the right thing. We don't look at our research from commercial lens. Not only that, and we don't engage our end users. Here I can see people from medicine, people from pharmacy. How many of our procedures and other things have you commercialized? All right? Because there are a lot of things to be commercialized, but we don't. What are the factors that inhibit academic entrepreneurship? So I'll quickly go through this. There is institutional obstacles, lack of institutional support, rigidity of laws and procedures, limited support and resources. I must say, the current management of the university is encouraging research. Seriously, that we have to give them credit for that. But on the other hand, they are not providing enough resources for the research to be done very well. So the encouragement must not only be pushing people to apply for grants and other things, but that you must also encourage them financially, support them. There are bureaucratic barriers. I'm sure you have heard Balogun's presentation. The IPR procedure, spin-off and startups, the bureaucracy involved is not a small thing. You have to go to corporate affairs, you have to do this, you have to do that. And do you know the problem with intellectual property right in Nigeria? The law is very weak and very poor. It doesn't protect you in any way. That is the major thing. And they have been trying to change the laws, but our houses of assemblies block the changes. Why? Because the people violating the law are mostly over there. And that's why they will not allow easy accessibility. And there is also risk aversion. Universities and university leadership, starting from the council to the management to the Senate, we are always prefer stability over innovation. I wish DBC admin was here. There was an innovation committee we had in this university. We were moving forward. We even identified 2 engineering students. We went to Kaduna. We even saw some money for them to develop the product they were developing. We had investors line up to assist them to go to the next stage in their work. But what happened now? We become prostrated, and the committee was pushed into coma and eventually died because there was no resuscitation. Because what we wanted at that point is to give what is called, my professor of nutrition is here. In nutrition, there's what we call positive deviant. If everybody is doing the normal thing, then somebody decided to take bull by the horn and do it differently and become extremely successful. That person is called a positive deviant. It's not business as usual, and these are the innovators, and these are the entrepreneurs, and we don't want to be that. So we do have that problem. There are also cultural obstacles. Academic society is extremely conservative. We are supposed to be the pushers and movers of new ideas, but we ourselves are very conservative. For example, we put peer-reviewed publication over product development, simply because your promotion is linked to publication, not to product, not even to patent. And these are some of the thinking that the administration must start. How do you prioritize, for example, intellectual property? How do you value it in the promotion procedure? How do you add product development in whatever form to the promotion criteria? These are things and ways that you can soften the what is all right. So we're talking about obstacles. Went off. Oh, okay. Well, fine. We also have financial obstacles, limited funding. I don't know whether people from IPR officer, that ABU has money for proof of concept. Do you have any money for R&D? Do you have money for prototype development? Now, if you want the industry to come to you, one good thing about business people is that they don't buy imagination. They buy products. So if you have prototype, it's easy for you to convince them to give you money. But these are initial things that the university must fund before you can get the prototype. And if you have the prototype, it's easy now for the industry now to come under this. For example, now, what big companies do, like this, they no longer do the research themselves. They come to university and look for prototype and then produce, because that saves them the money they would have spent in employing people to do research and development. That has been done for them. And the university will make healthy income by licensing out that prototype. So the industry is happier moving forward. The university is happier. There is more resources. And the people that develop the prototype moving forward, because they earn more now from what they have done. They can see a tangible result. And this reminds me of a very story of a Kanuri man who was asked to go and, is there any Kanuri person here? Well, I can say the saying now. Probably, I'm probably the only one that has that Kanuri ancestry. That he was given a groundnut to plant. So he will plant 2 pieces. He said, I'm not sure what will happen to this. And he will get 3 pieces and put it in his mouth and he say, I'm absolutely sure about this one because I'm eating it. So this is these are some of the so it's very important if you want the industry to come and fund our research, that we push our research to get product or services. If we are able to do that, we are this. Our technology transfer is very expensive because transferring knowledge or whatever from the university to the industry is not cheap. It's very, very expensive. The IPO officer will tell you how much you spend before you eventually get a patent. And not only that, it is tedious and time consuming. There is also uncertain revenue stream. One problem with entrepreneurship is that it may not generate income stream immediately. It may take a while to mature. But most of us here are not that patient. And I was jokingly telling the top officer one time that maybe the reason is that we have a very short lifespan because of so many things that are happening. And that's why we want to get it quick. But we have to be patient with academic entrepreneurship. The money will eventually come when they do. And you have to be a little bit this. I remember one of the products we developed, I contributed in the developing it. And we were building castle in the air because at that time we are tapping on the misery of people because that condition is making everybody miserable. But we knew that at that time, if we are able to succeed, even if you have 1% in the dividend, you'll be happy for the rest of your life because there is a source of steady income from there. Unfortunately for us, at the last stage of clinical trial, it failed. All right? And when they were doing the next generation of the stuff, the university will not allow me to go and participate because they think I'm more useful when I sit here and continue talking and teaching. And I reason with them because they are paying my salary. They will not want to be paying the salary while I'm somewhere trying to make life difficult for myself. But that is narrow-mindedness. Because if we had succeeded, the name of the university would have been better. The way the universities are assessed, the university would have additional point in that, right? And at the same time, the university will be happier by having at least one additional dollar millionaire in its staff, right? But what they see is that you are just going there for your own personal benefit and that alone. So that is why rigidity in the management, I always attack that rigidity. I know people like Tanimu and my colleagues in PAS, they always call me Taliban. You know why? They said I'm anarchist. I don't like law and order. It's not that I don't like law and order. I hate useless law and order that stifle and choke everybody and disallow people from moving forward. That's what I don't like. Because without law and order, we wouldn't be here. All right? If you remember when Boko Haram was creating trouble, if you have a black bag here, we will all disappear here. So nobody will remain. All right? So there is also a problem of taxation and accounting. Another problem we also face is that the government in Nigeria have I don't know what kind of economics they are operating. Because if you overtax people, they will not have spare income. If they don't have spare income, will they go to the market? If they don't buy products that are produced in the country, how will the companies survive? How will they create jobs? And how will you tax them from the profit they are making? But it's ordinary people they want to tax. So the taxation and accounting system in Nigeria, because I hope there is no accountant here, because a typical accountant always look at legality, not morality. Accountant is not interested in legality and morality. He's only interested, what can I get away with and make more money for my company? So this complex situation, and that is one of the problems we also have when we are organizing our research team. You have a research team without a statistician. You have a research team without an accountant, you see, and things like that. Because it is the accountant that will know how to navigate the tax laws. So that even if you produce spin-offs and other things, they can successfully be registered and a lot of money be made. So this integral networking that my dean was saying, that there is even no networking within departments, you need to have cross-sectional integration in networking, where you have a research team, you have a sociologist, you have this and that, and so on and so forth. We don't do that. Most of the time, we cope ourselves within our discipline, even within the discipline, within certain narrow specialization, not only narrow specialization with the people we are comfortable with. Who told you that if you want to generate knowledge, you have to work with people you are comfortable with? No. It doesn't matter. It's the brain and the intellectual contribution you're making, not how nice the guy is or the woman is. That matters. So if they can push the knowledge forward, so be it. We have to swallow our pride and this. There are also regulatory obstacles. The the IB laws and regulation are complex. Conflict of interest, relationship between academics and industry are not always easy to navigate because the industrialist, the entrepreneur is always worried that you are not contributing a kobo in the enterprise. All you are contributing is your head. So, and as far as it's concerned, you are not contributing a kobo. Why should you share the profit? And we, on the other hand, yes, you have your money, but you don't know what to do with the money. So it will take the two to tango. So if you want to have a successful dance, the entrepreneur and the industrialist must know, I'm bringing the specialization, I'm bringing the product, you finance it, right? And then we now make profit and the two of us will be happy. But we don't look at things that way. What next? Oh, no power. There is also a personal obstacle. We, the academics, have problem. We lack entrepreneurial experience. I'm sure the best we can do are people like us that even palm. But palming is not entrepreneurial investment. All right? Although it is becoming more and more profitable. Right? But it should be such that a university like ours, we should have people who are industrialists. Former Dean of Pharmacy, I don't see why you should not even be producing this drip and some drugs and be making money and things like that. We lack the necessary skills and the experience. Okay? We also have time constraint because it's difficult for us, for example, to share our time between our academic responsibilities and then entrepreneurial responsibilities. We must create that time. We have to be more organized. If we do that, this is a personal obstacle. We also risk of damage, reputational damage. We don't want a situation where we generate something that kills. All right? We think that will damage our reputation. But as long as we are careful in what we do take the necessary care in what we do, we can still make difference to people's life. So I think I will summarize thing. How do we go forward? Right? First, individually, we have to motivate ourselves, convince ourselves that our knowledge, that our skills, that whatever this thing we have can be used to make difference to our society, and in the process, we make money. So we must do that. It is not bad for people to make money. And making money is not a sin. It's how you make the money that is a problem, and what you use it for after you generate it that is a problem. But making money is not a sin. It's something that we must always think of, because that is the best way to guarantee our future. So we must do that. The institution must be more flexible with their laws, with the way they handle things and things like that. And one good thing that I've had is the way the university is now trying to develop intellectual property law. Because if you go by ABU, you produce a product, you plot a company, ABU will insist that they will have majority share, which is wrong. Because by insisting on that, people will not come to you. So therefore, you are going to have 100% of nothing instead of 1% of something, or 2%, or whatever higher percent you have. So institutionally, the administration must be made to be more flexible and so on and so forth. And also, the university need to find a way of financing proof of concept, product development, and so on and so forth. Right? And so, especially this last point, research mobilization, unconventionality, industry collaboration, and change in university policies. This last point, this last point is very, very important for the university in order to help us move forward. The research mobilization itself, unconventionality. Forget about the rigid laws and this and that, become unconventional. Number one university, in fact, if you look at universities number 1 to 10 in the world, they reach where they are because they become unconventional. Right? And then, of course, the industry collaboration, and then the issue of the policy. Next slide. These are the qualities of a good academic entrepreneur. I will just talk about that. Create a brand that embodies all of your outputs. How many of us are brands? But we should be. Probably the next time you are talking about developing some of these cartoons and so on and so forth. But are you a well-known brand? You are not. And that is what you should strive to. The entire processes that you do, make yourself a brand. And that is key to quality of good entrepreneur. Don't repackage as we do what we do and so on and so forth. So, and also, as Africans, we believe that yesterday was better than today. That the older people are superior to us. And that the old way of doing things is always better than the new one. That is not true. Don't use yesterday's solution to solve today's problem. Don't do that. So, and that is one of the good ways to have entrepreneurship. And we also, whatever our outputs are, should not remain as publications only. They should turn up as goods and services in the market. Next. You see, like I said, peer-reviewed publications should not be our final product. It is a tool to start a new discussion with the people or groups that may benefit from our findings. Like the presentation we made on GMO today. Here, we are just preaching to the converted. Because most of the people here are here to learn more about GMO, not to oppose it. Suppose you have a collection of reverends or mullahs here, and then you are talking about GMO. Would that not be more useful, more productive than a bunch of eggheads that at least have heard about GMO? So please, it is very, very important we do that. So rather than focusing on next output, the next grant, or new publication, we must reflect the benefits of our entire body of work and how we can use it to benefit the society and to benefit ourselves. We have to start small, look outwards, own our inputs, and be brave ambassadors for the difference that we want to make to our societies, especially this one. We must be that. And rest back. All right? So next slide. So we have to realize that we must have the potential to earn an income directly from our academic output, not only salary. Salary will never make you rich, no matter what it is. Yes, salary is meant, do you know the concept of salary from capitalist point of view? To give you enough to keep you healthy so that you can produce more money for them. That's what salary is all about. It's to make sure that you can safely work and earn more money for them. So we must think outside the box and so on and so forth. We need a new mindset and philosophy. The mindset we need to have is that it is not a sin to look for money. It's not a sin to be rich. Right? Rather, our philosophy is this. So, the last word of warning I have, we either evolve or we dissolve. No more like that. And remember something, that progress is not made because of lack of obstacles, but progress is made in spite of obstacles. We have to be very careful about that. Let us not look at the problems, let's look at the solution. Finally, when you talk of creativity and innovation, like I said at the beginning, it is a broad church. You can talk of economics, management, psychology, anthropology, policy, technology, education, the arts, or the modes are individual, ourselves, an organization, industry, nation, region. So in other words, we all have a stake to improve our society. And we all need to find a way of improving ourselves. And the only way we can improve ourselves is by adopting the concept of academic entrepreneurship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
A round of applause for Prof. as he takes his seat. We've all been served with a little refreshment to keep us going. We'll be taking our third presentation, which was initially the first on the program, on intellectual property and technology transfer by none other than Professor Emmanuel O. Balogun. Round of applause for him, please.
Yeah, no. Thank you very much. Again, thank you. Okay, all right. Yeah. So I will be building up on the foundation laid by my able academic grandfather, and I believe we have all listened to him. A number of questions must have been penned down. Please take note of these questions then, because it will make our roundtable of discussion more robust. Okay, I know we have a broad attendees here. So I will be talking on intellectual property. So, the prof mentioned that as academics that money is not bad, that money is important. I remember, I don't know how many of you have seen a cartoon going on social media some time ago. It's pretty funny. So one guy was there, said, while he was in school, he believed that knowledge was better than, was more important than money. So some years after he graduated, he was saying, money, I'm so sorry. I was foolish. So really, I think, yeah, money is important. And the way we can make money is, according to what Prof mentioned, is by solving problems. If we solve problems, we create value, and then we'll be able to contribute to society. So here, this is an overview of, I'll be giving an overview on intellectual property rights. As my director mentioned earlier, that we, the directorate, manage intellectual property in addition to other responsibilities like grants and also different kind of workshops to be able to promote researchers and scientists in the university to be able to operate optimally. So the general concept that we'll be talking about is, for me, I'll be, Prof mentioned that, rightly mentioned that intellectual property is important, but patent is not the zenith. The most important thing is that must be translated to product, that is entrepreneurship. However, even though that is true and that is very, very valid, we also, intellectual property right is also very important. It must be registered, because he also mentioned that most companies will not listen to you until they know that these have commercializable potentials, and they know that by law infringe on anybody's rights, nor would anybody easily maneuver them in the market. So this is very important as we go ahead. And so Prof mentioned about property. We mentioned earlier that properties can be tangible or intangible, right? Patent is an intangible property, but it can become tangible when that has become, become into product and is in the market. So there are different types of property here. We said we have movable properties such as cars. I love this. This is my best. This is my dream car, actually. So when I become an entrepreneur, like Prof said, this is the first thing I'll buy is this one. Then we have also immovable property. We know this is a house. I don't know. Can anybody guess where this house is located here in Nigeria? Actually, in Abuja. Where? Somebody mentioned it. Asokoro. I also love to live in. My wife says she wants to live in Asokoro, so I've been dreaming that I want to buy a house in Asokoro. So this is from Asokoro. And then, of course, the reason why we're here is about intellectual property. It's basically protecting their literary works. Literary works. Many people think that patents or intellectual property is only restricted to scientists. No, but there are literary works such as people in the arts, in the humanities. So everybody. Most times when we have meetings in the directorate with the deputy director and director, we always wonder why because director mentioned it earlier, that people in some faculties are not well represented when we talk about research or intellectual property in ABU Zaria. And actually, if you look at we have a repository, we have a portfolio of patents currently that we have a number, okay? And to almost 80% of that, Faculty of Life Sciences and Faculty of Faculty of Engineering. Okay, so I think maybe with this workshop, I believe that narrative will begin to change soon. So in intellectual property, when you have invention, you can patent it, and then, or you can have copyright, right? So the nature of intellectual property, of course, is creation of human intellect. You conceive an idea that will be able to solve the problem. One of the very interesting courses that I learned as an undergraduate student was taught by Professor Ahmed, who says problem identification is actually the most important step to becoming a good scientist or a good researcher. So meaning that within our environment, we should be able to see and identify problems. And then from there, we generate ideas, we generate hypotheses, we discuss with colleagues, and come up with ways to solving such problems. So problem identification is important because that stems from human intellect. So there are some very important things to talk about, to consider. One thing about intellectual property rights, intellectual property rights, they are, as it is called, rights. They are lawful rights that is owned by the inventor, by the generator of the idea. And this will be given to you, it's an intangible property. You will have that right when you are given a certificate. It's just a piece of certificate that you'll be given, which confers to you the rights of having that intellectual property, and nobody will be able to violate it. If anyone violates it, actually, it accelerates you to becoming richer even much quicker. So that is why it is important to be able to get that intellectual property. It is time-bound. Prof mentioned it earlier that in most cases, I think in Nigeria, based on the law from CAC or the Ministry of Trade and Investment, which is the ministry that oversees intellectual properties in Nigeria, it's about, I think it's 20 years for patent, right? 20, cool? Thank you. And then it's also, it can be territorial. Okay, so if you register intellectual property in Nigeria, Nigeria, I'm not sure, but as of some years back, Nigeria is not yet a member of ARIPO. ARIPO means Africa Intellectual Property Office, Regional Intellectual Property Office. So most countries that are members of that, it means if you register your intellectual property in Nigeria, so it covers most African countries, all right? And also now we also have WIPO, which is World Intellectual Property Organization. So if the country is part of that organization, then you automatically are covered. It covers the entire globe. So, but these are policies, the national policies that are supported by law, and then we do not have much to play. But it's very important to be able to identify, to know all this background information. So, again, the definition of it is that it covers also literary, artistic, artistic, and then performances, even people in performing arts and drama. I was told recently we attended a workshop in Abuja. Some of my colleagues were there, and I didn't know that if Michael Jackson's dance style that is also. So I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, moonwalk, yes, that is also covered. So you have scientific discoveries, you have industrial design, then trademark. So these are different kind of, which I have summarized here, different type of intellectual property. Copyright, these are things like Prof mentioned, like writing a book, you know, then of course patents, there trademarks, this is their trademark, these are things like logo and things like that. These are also designs. So you have design rights for people in design and industrial design. You have database rights also. So some databases you have to, that's why in most cases, when you obtain an information from a database, you must reference or cite the database, otherwise it's an infringement on itself. Then of course, performance rights, as we mentioned shortly. So these are, they are different types of intellectual property rights. And, you know, Prof also mentioned that in ABU that we have, and also the director mentioned earlier that in ABU we have what we call intellectual property policy. Until recently, we didn't have a robust policy, but you know, the Vice Chancellor constituted a committee which was headed by the Director of Research and Innovation to be able to come up with with ABU intellectual property policy. Previously, it was just like 2 or 3 pages in the ABU research policy, but now I think we have a policy document which is about 40 pages, right? Yeah. So, and this is something I think is a really commendable effort by the Director of Research and Innovation and the Deputy Director. So we have ABU policy, and very soon, I think, I don't know the stage, maybe the Senate has approved it, but okay, yeah. So the Senate has approved it. So very soon, everybody will automatically be a signatory of that. It will cover everybody, every staff in the university. So I must mention it, you know, Prof also mentioned that the intellectual property, of course, is an idea and, you know, innovation from the inventor, but actually it rightly belongs to the university. The intellectual property is not owned by an individual employee. As long as you're an employee of the university, the intellectual property right is for the university. However, the university policy made a room. I think the university was really very generous about the percentage. Maybe we'll talk about it later during the discussion. So there's a very huge percent that goes to the inventor. And I think this will be very encouraging to those of us who are really interested. So it's very important because without that, it has to, we will see very soon why we actually have to register IP, okay, but it's a platform for development and innovation for protection of commercialization. Prof just finished talking about entrepreneurship, which is basically centered around commercialization of intellectual output. So so now every university define its own technology transfer policy or commercialization model. Again, Prof mentioned earlier that commercialization model is not very, it's not so robust in AB, but I think the university is trying. A number of people here in Faculty of Engineering or other faculties, and actually across the university, applied for what they call seed grant. And this seed grant was advertised by some centers affiliated with the university, such as SNP and ACNTDFB, where they give some money called seed money to be able to transform your idea into a product. Okay, and in that pathway also patenting, things like patenting and intellectual property rights are advised. Part of that funding, Prof mentioned that it's expensive. Yes, actually it is expensive and time consuming, but such grants will give you some funds, some money to be able to do that very easily. So intellectual property is an invention of artwork. Okay, it's something that we think about and then we find a way of, bringing it out of our brain and then making it into something tangible or intangible assets. Okay, and then this will be covered by the intellectual property. So IP is protected by patent or copyright or trademarks or trade secrets. Of course, patent, this is something when you invent something and then you are the only one, which is something very innovative. You cannot invent something that someone else have invented. Actually, that is against the law. And also, if you invent something and you do not patent it, then somebody else may pick up that idea. And legally, that person can make more money than actually you may make zero, while the person is making all the billions of naira. So that's why it is important to be able to protect this. So trademarks can be covered, and then trade secrets. If you look at Coca-Cola, also until very recently, it never dawned on me that here there are lots of intellectual property here. Yeah, the design even of the cap, the design of the bottle, that is intellectual property. The trademark, of course, is a trademark, is intellectual property, and then the content itself. Up till now, does anybody who can tell us how Coca-Cola is made? No, so it's trade secret. So there are numbers. So don't say, oh, no, I'm not in the sciences. I don't have business with intellectual property. No, you can design. Just designing artwork, you can have intellectual property or trademark or trade secrets. So keeping things, how you manufacture or produce something, keeping it secret is intellectual property. So Prof mentioned, it looks like Prof saw my slide, but he didn't see it. I'm very sure he didn't see it. He mentioned this, that it's a long development. Actually, it's time consuming and it really can be frustrating. In Nigeria, I know it may take up to 2 years sometimes. We have some, going on, people in our department have some going on with the Ministry of Trade and Investment for the past over a year ago, more than 2 years. So this can be problematic. And of course, the financial investment, the investment into the research, not only in the research, but also the investment into paying. Prof mentioned that the patent can become a liability if it is not easily converted to entrepreneurship. So because you have to pay, there's patent fee, which you have to pay either annually or biannually. So these are things that we need to consider. And that is why immediately we have an idea that we have traversed through innovation. So it's very easily, let's take suggestion. Quickly, let's find a way to commercialize. Commercialization, of course, we do not, from our salary, we cannot commercialize. That is, even if you are a professor, I don't know, maybe those at bar. So we do not. So we have to partner with investors, partner with industries to be able to take them into the market. So, and it's also very complicated. One of the reasons why this is really discouraging is because as academics, we have to publish, right, to get promotion. And then we also know, I must mention this again, it's an unwritten law, or it might be an obvious law. You cannot patent what you have published. If it's already in the public domain, then it's no longer patentable. Okay, so that is why in most cases you find out that people don't publish, and then it takes time, it takes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, so they lose ability to get promotion. So, but again, I think the university management has really taken this into consideration. I think in the new promotion guideline, there is points for things like patents, for things like commercialization. So this will be very helpful. So then that means we shouldn't be discouraged about innovation going through these very lengthy steps or process. So here, Prof also mentioned something about risk. It's high risk investment, and we know that the riskier for the business people, they know that the riskier an investment is, the more profitable it may become. So this is also something that is very important. And in most cases, the industry will tell you how risky is your innovation. These are things they analyze before they be able to commit their resources into it. If it's something that is not much without risk, they know that they may not be able to make profit out of that because some other competitors may come into play, may come into the scene, and that will not be very okay with such system. So basically, with patents, what we obtain is to obtain the right to exclude others from performing what you have done. So even if if you have a patent, if someone carried out an investigation and arrived at the same thing, you have already excluded the person. The person cannot patent it because you already have the right, unless if there's an agreement. Of course, again, it may be advantageous or disadvantageous. One of the students in my class, because I taught this part of as a course somewhere, here in the PG class, it brings monopoly. It sanctions monopoly. Then one of the students said, "But is it ethically correct?" Okay, but I don't know. So then why do we patent an invention? Of course, you gain recognition, just like we have mentioned. In the promotion guideline is there. If you have patent, you have a point, and again, of course, you gain recognition. Then there is incentive to commercialize the product because you'll be able to license, you'll be able to, entice and initiate a startup company. A startup company startup are just small-scale companies that can be initiated. A number of people thought when you talk about a company, they think of a gigantic building like this. No, you can actually start your startup. You can initiate your startup from your supervisor's laboratory or from your laboratory, right? So it doesn't require a gigantic building to be able to do that. So, but what can be patented? This, like I mentioned, it has to be novel, it has to be useful. Prof also mentioned this, but we cannot patent ideas. Saying, "Oh, I have an idea," you cannot patent it. Law of nature cannot be patented. Scientific principles cannot be patented. I have an idea that I have been discussing with some of my colleagues, and then very recently, I have an idea. Maybe I'll just discuss the idea here because it's not patentable. So my idea is that very soon, I think Dr. Awal is already shaking his head. Very soon, people will no longer die, or there will be longevity such that people will live for 100, 200, 300 years, and even maybe you will choose not to die. That's my idea. And the reason for this idea is because scientists have identified the gene of longevity, okay, which is linked to certain processes in the system that accelerates, us to die. So I am thinking that since we have identified that, and with advancement in technology, we will start people. I don't know if it is this generation, but I think I have that idea that people will start living for hundreds of years and possibly even live forever. I'm saying this without minding my Bible and Quran, so I'm sorry. So we cannot patent laws of nature, okay? Physical phenomena like or whether light will come or there will be no light. Sun will come or there will be no sun. Those are just predictions. Whether it will rain or not, those are just predictions. However, we can patent the tools that enable us to be able to have, predict nature accurately. All right. So, of course, also mentioned it in his lecture that we cannot patent things that are injurious to the society. For instance, if you discover something that can kill people easily, nobody will patent such things. These are things that cannot be patented. And of course, I also mentioned this, anything in the public domain cannot be patented. So a number of people will be asking, okay, so how do we patent? If we are encouraging patents, what do we do? These are simple, the components of a patent application. A number of people here already know, but for the purpose of the many people who are yet to be aware, it's simple. If you look at this framework, abstract background of the invention summary, figures or sketches, okay, detailed description, claims, you will see that it's similar to something that almost everybody here is familiar with. All right, what is it? What does it look like? Publication, right? Yeah, it looks like public. Actually, so really, it is difference is that this has this must be able to capture. It should be something that can be that is understandable by both experts and non-experts in the field. Most because your target eventually is commercialization, so it has to be something that people in the business will be able to understand very easily. Of course, the critical part here, which is not part of publication, is claims. Okay, these are sets of legal boundaries. All right, this can be dependent or independent. And then, sorry, this is not very clear. I just put here a figure of a patent cover, which was submitted recently. So you have the title, you have the inventors, which is similar to authors in the publication. You have the address, and I will also encourage that if you are submitting your invention for patenting, you can at the same time just seek for trademark application or trademark approval. So trademark means you can think about a name and a logo that will suit your invention, and then you can publish that. I mean, you can submit it for your patents. That way, it makes things easier and faster through patenting to commercialization. Okay, so I think we have mentioned this one. It's about 20 years for Nigeria, and it gives you monopoly, right? So, sorry. This is just what we have seen in the earlier slide, the distinction or the difference between scholarly publication and patents, right? Basically, here is disclosure of ideas with as many features. So if you are patenting, for instance, if you find something, usually we also advise that in most cases, there is nothing so new. Most of the things have been discovered, okay, but there are improvements that are made. There is patent database, either in Nigerian patent database or the WIPO patent database. You can go there and check for those inventions that have expired, patents that have expired, that have lived, above 20 years. You can copy those patents and modify them. Okay, yes, it is allowed. For those of us in chemical sciences, if you have, let's say, artemisinin is, for example, you can change the scaffolds of artemisinin or use the mechanism of action of artemisinin to design your own chemical scaffold. As long as it is new and it has not been submitted, you can also patent that. So I think it's one resource that is readily available for researchers, mostly for those of us that are still new in the game, to be familiar with the patent databases. We can copy. There's nothing bad in copying. You can copy and modify, and it becomes new, and you can make money from that. Most especially if you are able to show that it has better function than the primary, the backbone. All right. So this is very important, I think, to mention this. So the strategy is very simple. By now we know that it's defensive. You need to exclude people to dominate, and then for licensing purpose, and then the other purposes such as profit and aggregators. So patenting process is very simple. You have an idea, you have been able to crystallize to fulfill the hypothesis and the aims of that idea, and that becomes something new. If it's novel, that nobody has ever thought about it or worked on that, of course, that can be patented. So you write that out. I think the simple way, just for the purpose of this workshop, is that when you conceive an idea, perhaps even before executing it, you should come to the Directorate of Research and Innovation. Your secrets are safe with us. You can discuss with us because we have some trainings. Then we will be able to advise you on the best way to approach execution of your idea or your hypothesis to be able to make your intellectual property application faster and easier. So you come to us and then we can give you, I think very soon by time we will be, perhaps we'll put it on the ABU website, the key framework of intellectual property application from Ministry of Trade and Investment. So that will be, I think, uploaded soon on our website, so you can have access to that. But please come. A number of people come to meet us, to consult with us, and then we'll give them, some guidance and guidelines to be able to go through that patenting process. It can be lengthy, but truly, I think it's worth it. So I think Prof mentioned some of these things which I will not have to talk about. Some of the hurdles, publication is one of them, okay, and then the patent, but we can smartly go around this, not going around this, we can smartly, utilize this when we go to the databases and identify some patents or some intellectual property that are of interest to us or that is close to what we do. And then we can use this to be able to circumvent the hurdles. Again, we cannot publish before intellectual property right approval. We have to at least submit it before we can publish. So many people will say, "Oh, what does it look like?" It depends on the source or on the approving organization. These are 2 patents that are approved by the German Patent Office. Okay, it carries a title, it carries a submission date, it carries approval date, it carries information about the inventors, and of course, it also carries information about the invention itself. Okay, so this is in the database, and this anybody can look up this. If you have the advantage of having a patent or intellectual property approval is that it is easier for you to meet investors and negotiate with them. That okay, I have this invention, this is what it's doing, I have patented it. So somebody asked me some time ago that okay, what if you describe will they confirm this before patenting? I told the person that it's in your own interest. You better be sure that your claim is correct. Otherwise, it can be embarrassing to the individual scientist and even to the person's institution. So these are little tidbits on intellectual property registration that I think will set the stage for our discussion during the panel of discussion, which I think will be very interesting. So in the panel of discussion, we will be able to receive all of your questions, all of your concerns, and we will discuss it. So in the panel discussion, you are not only asking an individual, maybe me as a person, but you'll be asking a group of the panelists. And I think that we believe that this was an idea by the directorate that it will bring up a much more robust discussion that will be helpful to people in the process of IP registration. So I'll stop here, and then we hope to see you in the next stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Bello, for that presentation. Another round of applause for him, please. We'll be having lunch and then also giving ourselves time for prayers and reconvene by 1:50. So we could have the break, take our prayers, and then we'll be back here by 1:50. Lunch, yes. Lunch will be served here, after which we could go for our prayers, and then we'll be back here by 1:50.